All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle 25 really useful English words. Now, to make sure you actually remember them, we're going to break them down into small, easy-to-understand groups. This way, you'll be ready to use them not just on your exams, but in real life too.
So here's our game plan. We've got 6 groups. We've put words with similar ideas together, which, trust me, makes it so much easier to see the connections and lock them into your memory.
First up, let's talk about words for negative behavior. We're going to look at 4 words that describe people when they're being rude or just, well, foolish. I'm pretty sure we've all met people like this, and now you'll have the perfect words for them. Okay, so these 2 words are both about being rude, but in totally different ways. A brazen person does something wrong, and they feel zero shame about it. It's a kind of negative confidence. You know, like a student who openly cheats and then argues about it. That's brazen. Now, brisk is different. It's about being short, quick, and unfriendly in the way you talk. Think of a super busy manager who answers your question in one word without even looking at you. That manner is brisk. Here are 2 more. A callous person is just plain unfeeling. They see someone else in pain, and they simply don't care. So, for example, making a joke right after someone gets bad news, that's a really callous thing to do. A buffoon, on the other hand, isn't necessarily mean. They're just foolish. A buffoon is like a silly clown, someone who acts so ridiculously that people laugh at them, not with them. Let's move on to our next group of words. These are all about trouble, big and small. We're talking everything from a tiny problem to a huge life-changing disaster. Okay, the word breach just means a break. Simple, right? But it can be a break of different things. It can be a break in the rules, like cheating on an exam is a breach of school policy. It can also be a physical break, like a breach in a castle wall. Or, and you hear this one a lot in the news, it can be a break in security, like when hackers cause a security breach and steal information. Brouhaha. This is a great word. A brouhaha is a loud, messy, and excited situation, full of noise and maybe some anger. Picture this. A tiny argument at a dinner party suddenly explodes into a huge shouting match that involves everyone. That is a brouhaha. It's chaotic and gets a lot of attention. So calamity and cataclysm both mean a really, really bad disaster. But here's the key difference: scale. A calamity is any terrible event, like a hurricane that damages a city. But a cataclysm is on another level. It's so huge and violent that it actually changes the world. Think of the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. That wasn't just a calamity, it was a cataclysm. So all cataclysms are calamities, but not all calamities are cataclysms. All right, Group 3, this is all about words we use to describe speech and ideas. We'll cover everything from talk that's super boring, to talk that's harmful, to talk that is just absolutely fascinating. Let's look at 3 ways that speech can be bad. First, a bromide. This is a phrase that's so common and unoriginal, it's just boring. Think of things like, it is what it is. It doesn't really mean much anymore. Next is calumny, and this one is serious. Calumny isn't just a lie. It's a lie told specifically to destroy someone's reputation. It's a really nasty thing. And finally, we have cant. This is when people talk about high moral or religious values, but you know they don't actually believe what they're saying. It's hypocritical talk. And now for a much more positive word. To captivate is the exact opposite of a boring bromide. It means to grab someone's attention completely because you are so charming or interesting. A great movie can captivate you. A powerful speech can captivate a crowd. You just can't look away. Okay, on to our next section. Here, we're going to learn words that have to do with groups, complicated systems, and even some secrets. Just think for a second. Have you ever been totally lost trying to understand a set of rules? Maybe for applying for something online or reading a legal contract. Well, there is a perfect word for that feeling of being tangled up in a super complicated system. And that word is Byzantine. When you describe a system or a plan as Byzantine, you're saying it's so complicated and confusing, it's like trying to find your way through a maze in the dark. It often feels like it was designed to be difficult on purpose. Here are 2 words for groups of people, but they are worlds apart. A cabal is a small group that meets in secret to make plans, and those plans are almost always bad or sneaky. But a caucus is completely different. It's not secret at all. A caucus is a totally normal meeting for members of a political party to get together and make decisions, like choosing a candidate. Now, these two can be a little tricky. A cache is a hidden supply of things, like a secret stash. A squirrel hiding nuts for the winter has a cache. And be careful, it sounds just like cash, money, but it's spelled differently. A canon, on the other hand, isn't a physical thing you hide. A canon is a set of official rules, or a collection of important works. For example, the plays of Shakespeare are part of the canon of English literature. And don't confuse this one with CANNON, the big gun. All right, let's dive into Section 5. These words are all about what's most important and how we go about protecting those things. So both these words can mean important. Cardinal means most important, the number one, fundamental thing. For example, the cardinal rule of safety is to always be aware of your surroundings. Capital is a bit more complex. It has three main meanings. It can mean most serious, like a capital crime, which is a crime so bad it could be punished by death. It can also mean excellent or first rate, like what a capital idea. And of course, it can mean money or wealth used to start a business. A bulwark is a strong defense. It's like a shield or a protective wall. It can be a real physical thing, like a fortress that acts as a bulwark against an attack. But it can also be an idea or an institution that protects something valuable. For example, you could say that freedom of the press is a bulwark of democracy. And here we are, our final section. This last group of words will help us describe specific places, emotional reactions, and some pretty serious dangers. These three words create really strong pictures. The brink is the very edge of something, and it's almost always used when talking about a dangerous or exciting situation. You can be on the brink of success or on the brink of disaster. Capacious is a simpler idea. It just means something is really big and has a lot of room inside, like a capacious car trunk. And a cascade is like a waterfall. It's a large amount of something flowing or falling down, like a cascade of water or even a cascade of information. And our last two words. To bristle is to show that you are suddenly angry or annoyed. Think of a cat whose fur stands up when it gets scared or angry. When a person bristles at a comment, they get tense and defensive. And finally, carcinogenic. This is a very important scientific word. If something is carcinogenic, it means it has been shown to cause cancer. So what do you think? Now that you have these new words, think about how you can use them. How can you make your own English more powerful and precise? The real key is to start using them. So go out there and give it a try.